letters she never sent. Can a woman build her entire life on a lie told out of love, and still deserve to be loved in return? The archivist arrived in Vienna in the autumn of 1961, 2 weeks after the wall went up in Berlin and 3 days before she found the first letter. She had come to the Austrian State Archives on a 6-month fellowship, tasked with cataloging a collection of unclaimed personal correspondence seized from Jewish families during the war, letters that had traveled nowhere, seen by no one for nearly 2 decades. She was precise, quiet, and deliberate in everything she did, and she preferred the company of paper to the company of people. This was not shyness. It was armor. She had grown up in a small city in Bohemia, the daughter of a clockmaker, and she had learned early that feelings, like clocks, ran better when no one tampered with the mechanism. The historian arrived in the same archive on a Tuesday morning, smelling of tobacco, and carrying a briefcase held shut with a leather strap because the latch had broken and he had not bothered to fix it. He was Austrian by birth, a professor at the University of Graz specializing in displaced persons and wartime migration, and he was deeply, inconveniently charming in the way that men are charming when they do not know they are doing it. He set his broken briefcase on the table across from hers and said, without preamble, that she was sitting in his usual chair. She moved. Not because he had asked, but because she was too startled to argue. They worked in the same room for a week before they exchanged anything beyond polite, professional sentences. The archive enforced silence, and they were both, in their way, grateful for it. But paper creates conversation. She found a letter in the collection from a woman in Prague addressed to a man in Budapest, dated 1939, describing a winter market and a pair of gloves bought for someone who would never receive them. She left it on his side of the table with a note in her precise handwriting, "This belongs in your section." And he left it back with a note in his loose, untidy scrawl, "I think it belongs to no section. I think it is just sad." After that they talked. The difficulty was not that they talked. The difficulty was what they talked about, and how quickly it moved from the letters to themselves, from history to the present tense, from the professional to the personal in the way that intimacy advances when two people are simultaneously lonely and brilliant, and stuck in the same cold room for 8 hours a day. By November, she was eating lunch with him. By late November, she was laughing at things he said before he had finished saying them. By December, she was in love with him, which she recognized with the same calm, clinical certainty she brought to everything, and which terrified her completely. She was engaged to a man back in Prague. Not in the vague, crumbling way of an understood arrangement. She was formally, specifically, recently engaged to a structural engineer she had known for 4 years, a good and steady man who had asked her in September, 2 weeks before she left for Vienna, and to whom she had said yes because she believed, at the time, that goodness and steadiness were what she wanted. Her ring was in her coat pocket. She had taken it off when she arrived, telling herself it was to protect it, telling herself it meant nothing. It was the central lie of the next 3 months. She did not tell the historian about the engagement. She told herself there was nothing to tell. They were colleagues. They were friends. She was, as yet, doing nothing wrong. These were the arguments she made at night in her rented room, lying awake, listening to the trams on the Ringstrasse. But she knew, in the honest place beneath the arguments, that silence is its own kind of lie, and that she was building something with the historian that could not survive the truth emerging later, in the shape of a surprise. He fell in love with her more slowly, which is to say that he did not recognize it until it had already completely occupied him. He noticed first that he worked better when she was in the room. Then that he worked worse when she was not. Then that he had started arriving earlier each morning, not because the archive opened earlier, but because she arrived early, and the 40 minutes before the other scholars arrived, when it was only the two of them and the pale Viennese winter light and a thermos of coffee she brought from her apartment, had become the part of each day he measured everything else against. He told her, on a cold afternoon in January, that he thought the two of them should have dinner. Not as colleagues. He said it looking at the table, and then looked up, and his expression was so careful and so hopeful that she felt the lie she was carrying like a physical weight, pressing against her sternum. She said yes. They had dinner at a small restaurant near the Naschmarkt where the tables had red cloths, and the owner knew him by name. They talked for 3 hours. He walked her home through the snow and stopped at the door of her building and told her, in the most formal and serious tone, that he was not the kind of man who did this lightly. She did not know what to do with this information. She wanted to cry. She smiled instead. She kissed him. And then she walked upstairs to her apartment, sat down on the edge of her bed still wearing her coat, and understood that she could not continue. She wrote 2 letters that night. The first was to the engineer in Prague, and it was the most honest letter she had ever written, and it was devastating to write. She told him she was sorry. She told him she had made a promise she was not able to keep, and that she had known it longer than she had admitted to herself, and that he deserved more than a woman who had to convince herself to love him. She told him the ring was in her coat pocket, had been since September. She did not tell him about the historian. The second letter she did not send. The second letter was to the historian, and she wrote it because she could not say what was in it out loud. She told him about the engagement. She told him she had hidden it. She told him that the hiding had been a kind of cowardice she was ashamed of, and that he should know the full truth before anything went further, and that she would understand if the knowledge changed how he saw her. She read it twice, sealed it, and put it in the drawer beside her bed. In the morning, she went to the archive. She planned to tell him. She planned to simply say it, plainly, without the letter, which had already served its purpose by making her organize her thoughts. But when she arrived, he was not at his usual table. There was instead a colleague of his from the university, a woman in a wool coat who said that the historian had been asked to return to Graz urgently. A matter with his faculty position. He had left that morning. He had left a note. The note said, "I am sorry to leave without warning. I hope you know what the last months have meant to me. I will write." He did not write. She waited 6 weeks. She told herself he had become busy, that academic life was genuinely consuming, that there were 100 ordinary explanations for silence. She catalogued correspondence. She watched other people's words, written and never received, and thought about the letter in her drawer. In March, with 2 weeks left on her fellowship, she asked his colleague at the university for a forwarding address. The colleague looked at her with an expression she did not immediately understand. He had not gone back to Graz for a faculty matter. He had gone back because his wife was ill. His wife, whom he had not mentioned, whom the archivist had not known existed, because he had taken off his ring in September, 2 weeks before she arrived, and had not put it back on. She sat in a coffee house for 4 hours after learning this and did not order anything. She understood, with a clarity that felt almost physical, what she had been to him, and what he had been to her. 2 people who had walked into the same archive carrying the same hidden weight, and had found in each other not a solution but a mirror. The recognition did not make her angry. It made her grieve. For the letters in the archive that never arrived, for the people they had almost been, for the 3 months that now had to be resorted, recatalogued, placed in a different file. She went back to Prague in April. She did not write to him. She had nothing to say that he did not already know. For years past, she took a position at the National Museum. She built a life that was quiet and specific, full of other people's documents, other people's history. She was not unhappy. She was careful. In the spring of 1965, she received a letter. The handwriting was loose and untidy, and she knew it before she turned over the envelope. His wife had died the previous autumn, after a long illness. He had spent the intervening time, he wrote, trying to determine whether he had the right to contact her. He had concluded that he did not have the right, but that he was going to anyway, and that she should feel entirely free to throw the letter away. He told her that he had known, when he left Vienna, that she had been hiding something, because he had been hiding the same thing, and that this had been the fundamental dishonesty of those months, and that he was sorry. He told her that he had thought about the archive every day for 4 years. He told her that the 40 minutes in the morning, before the other scholars arrived, had been the happiest 40 minutes of his adult life, and that he was aware of how that sounded, and that it was nonetheless true. He told her he was not asking for anything. He told her he only wanted her to know that he had not disappeared because she had not mattered. He was coming to Prague in June for a conference. If she wanted to have coffee, he would be at the municipal library on the 14th at 10 in the morning. If she did not come, he would understand, and he would not write again. She read the letter twice. She put it in the drawer beside the letter she had never sent. On the night of the 13th, she took out both letters. She read his again. Then she read hers, the one from 1962, the one about the engagement, and the ring and the cowardice she was ashamed of. She folded them together. At 10 o'clock on the morning of June 14th, she walked into the reading room of the municipal library in Prague and saw him standing by the window in a coat that was slightly too large for him, holding a briefcase still held shut with a leather strap because the latch had never been fixed. She put both letters on the table in front of him and sat down. He read them. He read hers first, slowly, and his face moved through several expressions she did not have names for. Then he read his own, which he did more quickly, with what she thought was recognition. When he finished, he set them down and looked at her for a long time. Then he said, very quietly, that they had been idiots. She said that she agreed. He said he had repaired the latch on his briefcase twice, and it kept breaking, and he had begun to feel that this was a fact about the briefcase he needed to simply accept. She said that she could look at it, if he liked. Her father had been a clockmaker. She was reasonably good with small mechanisms. He slid the briefcase across the table. She fixed the latch in 4 minutes with a hairpin and a thumbnail, working with the same quiet, deliberate precision she brought to everything, while he watched her with an expression that was not complicated at all. They left the library together. They walked along the river. At some point his hand found hers, and neither of them mentioned it, because there was no longer anything to hide, and because some things, once they arrive in the right shape, do not require narration. They were not young. They had both made serious mistakes. They had both told lies out of fear and kept silences that cost them years. But the letters had finally arrived, and they knew, both of them, that this was the kind of knowing that does not need to be tested further. He stayed in Prague for 3 weeks. He moved there the following spring, to a position at Charles University, and they were married in a small ceremony in the autumn, in the courtroom of the same municipal building where she worked. The archivist wore a dress the color of winter light. The historian had finally replaced the strap on his briefcase. She kept both letters in a wooden box on her desk for the rest of her life, the one she had written and never sent, and the one she had received and answered by simply walking through a door. She catalogued them, the way she catalogued everything, with a label in her precise handwriting. The label said correspondence delivered late. Filed under proof. Did you enjoy today's story? Stay with me for just a moment. Let me know in the comments, which city are you watching from? Did this message touch you? And if you have ideas for future stories, feel free to share them. Your suggestion could become our next video. Leave a like if this message meant something to you. Subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. If you think someone else would appreciate this message, please share it. And if you'd like to support the channel, take a look at the links in the description. Some are affiliate links, which help us at no extra cost to you. Thank you for being here. See you in the next video.